President Joe Biden has said that he is going to stand down from the presidential race and not seek re-election to the White House in November. He has said that he will step aside as a candidate and he will focus on fulfilling his duties as president for the remainder of his term. He adds he's going to speak to the nation later about his decision. So this information has come to us via X, formerly known as Twitter, the social media platform, where Joe Biden has posted a letter. It reads, "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we've made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We have made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people.
Testing.
Together,
Okay, you can hear me.
We overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic.
Welcome back, Swims with
and
Whales.
the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world.
No, I mean, I've already started.
It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interests of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all of those who have worked so hard to see me re-elected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you've placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do.
Yeah, I mean, if they were gonna do this, it had to have been this weekend.
United States of America. So that is the letter that has been posted in the last 10 minutes on X, formerly known as Twitter, the social media platform. And it was only 18 hours ago that on that same social media account, Joe Biden said that this is the most important election of our lifetimes and I will win it. But of course, we've seen over the last few weeks growing amounts of concern that Joe Biden's health isn't good. We know that he's been isolating because he was found to have had COVID, but we were expecting him to return to the campaign trail tomorrow, having been told by his doctor that his health was improving and that he was fit to continue campaigning. But a growing number of Democrats, including senior Democrats, have expressed concern that he is not fit enough to continue in the campaign. Let's speak to our correspondent, David Woodell,
Harris has to stay. They have
developing story. So
they have to keep
David,
her.
We found out about it, as is the way in 2024, on social media.
Yes, indeed. Not just a tweet in this case, but a whole letter. And I've just been reading through it. You've read some of it on air in recent minutes out in the newsroom. We're dashing to cover this as best as we can for you. Let me just bring you some of the details of the letter. The President, Joe Biden, said today America has the strongest economy in the world. He's gone on to detail some of the achievements of his presidency, but then goes on to say that he believes it's in the best interest of his party and the country for him to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling his duties as president for the remainder of his term, which is, 6 or 7 months or so, and allow a successor to take on the mantle of challenging the presidency as the Democratic candidate in November.
The pressure was growing on him, though, wasn't it? Some donors were concerned about whether he was fit to stand And as we've seen, several senators have also come forward to say it's now time to go. So one had to wonder when the pressure would become so great that he needed to listen to what his party was saying.
Well, yes, indeed. And there are a couple of different issues here, one born perhaps of the other. There have been a few missteps in terms of his ability,
I guess, was not a Joe fan.
Appear like he had a handle on his brief, and
thank you everybody for jumping in. Appreciate it. Ford the Perfect, thank you for the compliments. Kem Goblin, appreciate it. Everyone in the chat.
Or indeed whether he had the capacity to continue as president for a further 4 years.
He's getting some milk. He just needs some milk, and he'll
next year.
Settle right down.
Roxo Fizz. That, both amongst those people close to him, and also amongst the wider American public. There were questions over whether he should continue to fight for the presidency in November. That then has spilled over to a further issue, which is the polling figures. And those have suggested for some time now that his rival Donald Trump,
there's no guarantee a replacement is going to be any better.
Would be likely to win, and that has put further pressure on President Biden.
David, for the moment, thank you very much. David Waddell.
Yeah, no, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. But, you know, the thing about a convention, though, is that it can really, you know, wake people up to other possibilities and candidates. So we might even see Bernie throw his hat in there. Why not? Hold on, buddy. ABC special report.
Frustrated over the president's policy towards Israel and the war in Gaza, they hold Harris to the exact same account as President Biden.
Selena, thank you. I want to go back to our chief Washington correspondent, John Karl. And John, we were doing some reporting earlier today, and I was told by sources in the Trump campaign that they were preparing for all sorts of scenarios.
The baby does not care about the future of the Democratic Party. Would you believe that?
That next up would be Vice President Kamala Harris, and they were already starting to build these opposition research books about who her potential running mate could be.
They're going to try to annoy.
Any idea at this point? There are definitely a lot of Democrats with
AOC says the donors are up to something.
Who could possibly be on that short list?
As you can imagine, Rachel, I've been talking for, now a couple of weeks about, to Democrats about this very scenario, including, who would likely be Kamala Harris's running mate. And a few names came up over and over again. One name I would put
Zaphoid needs his milk.
Of the list to write down is Roy Cooper. He is the Democratic governor of North Carolina. He is a Democrat who has managed to get elected in a state that is a battleground state that leans Republican, and a state that Democrats think they have a real chance of winning this year. They did not win last time.
Sorry, volume on the laptop.
Two times. They North Carolina's been pretty
Baby's been detained.
Republican.
This is nuts. This is crazy.
They came within just over 1% of.
Okay, hold on. Let me get some commentary in here.
So Roy Cooper is a name I would
slow your roll here. We'll keep let me just turn the captions up so you can still read those. But no, so this is totally nuts. So we were talking about this yesterday, and honestly, I was like, on the fence, because there's a lot of donors, there's a lot of emotional people that are saying, you got to drop out. These emotional people have a lot of money and they have a lot of power. They don't have a lot of brains. It's not automatic. It's not some automatic thing that they're really effing smart. So, so we have that crowd who Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries absolutely listen to. So we have that crowd, but then we also have the wonks, the lawyers, the people that are actually paying attention, that are saying this is not a good idea. This is not a slam dunk. There's no guarantee this will work. And I tend to side with the people who, even though they kind of fucked up during the Trump Hillary election, I tend to side with them. The wonks and the lawyers and the people that are looking at the numbers that are saying, yeah, there's no guarantee here. In fact, this could actually go in the other direction, because even though Biden is, a corpse, He's still has name recognition. So yeah. Look, I gotta get out of here. I'm bothering the hell out of my wife. So let me just get this open downstairs. I know. That's deep. Okay, sorry. All right. Poppy got to go downstairs. I got kicked out. I'm getting kicked out, folks. Close to the lawyers and wonks. What does the baby say? The baby says, leave and give me my milk. Put your yabbering and give me my milk. That's what the baby says. What does the fox say? Okay. Oh, holy shit balls. Okay, hold on. I'm firing up the mainstream beast here. Firing it up. Okay, guys. This is bonkers. This is crazy, dude. What the fork? Where, I mean, so yeah, there's so many questions. It's gonna be an open convention. But they are gonna try to anoint an establishment candidate. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not gonna pick the right one, because you know what they should do? They should shake it up. Do a Bernie, do an AOC, something like that, right? Really shake it up. Go in a totally different direction. Wake a lot of people up, young people especially. Like, hey, we've learned our lesson, right? But they're not. No, they're going to anoint some establishment idiot, right? All right, let's see what they're saying here.
Look at me. I will
Look at me.
prove this. But he really isn't the same person. Now, everybody ages differently. There's no question about that. But he has clearly struggled. And Rachel, I think one of the moments truly that really
wild, dude. This is wild. I don't know what the fuck, man. This is so crazy.
Announcement was made. We watched him go up those stairs to Air Force One. He had a great deal of trouble, very slowly, very timidly going up those stairs. And that was after he had been out on the campaign trail. They really wanted to get him back on the campaign trail.
Yes, Chem Goblin, yes.
To go on the campaign trail. But every appearance he made since that debate, people were watching, people were judging every word, every hesitation. And again, when he walked up those stairs that night, there was almost a look of defeat. And then when he landed and went to Rehoboth and walking down
look at that face, dude. Come on.
One, and clearly having trouble doing that as well. And certainly COVID had something to do with that, I imagine. And he was exhausted. That's all I had been told again and again, that the president was exhausted. But when they walked down those stairs, again, hesitating, and then had trouble getting into that SUV inside, it looked like he had trouble just maneuvering himself in there, took a big, deep breath. It was not the same person. I actually watched that
getting
debate,
old sucks. Okay,
recently before.
And I've said this. I've said this before. I'll gladly say this again. People Biden's age still have a lot to contribute, and are still totally capable of doing millions of things. Running the most powerful country in the world is not one of those things. That's a harsh reality. That sucks. The thing that sucks about age is that, especially when you're still very cognitive, it's just your body doesn't want to respond anymore, and it sucks. There's no other way to put it. There's so many more eloquent words I could use to describe it, but I don't want to rub it in. And I also am aware that I'm going to be right there sooner than I'd like. Right. And the same with everyone here. So it's a touchy subject. And I just want to acknowledge that, because I hope this doesn't lead to more age discrimination. Joe Biden, this whole situation with Joe Biden, because we really need to address that. That is an actual issue. We should talk about that, age discrimination in the United States and just in general. Because old people, I mean, sometimes, old people, maybe they don't have the most to contribute, but you would be damn surprised. And honestly, not every old person is a boomer conservative that speaks in talking points, that speaks in Facebook slogans. And like I said before, they have a lot to contribute. So I really hope this doesn't lead to more ageism.
This was very much a surprise. The timing of it, especially since the president, he is right now recovering from COVID. He's at home in his Delaware beach house. So we thought that this would be something that if he did make, certainly would be, a couple days down the road once he was recovered. The president has said, of course, that he will be speaking about this once he is well
thank you,
enough
Kim
to.
Goblin.
And now all eyes are really on Kamala Harris. We still have not
Already
heard any
started saying,
reaction
what did
from
Kamala
her.
do as VP?
She's not out on the trail today. She is here in Washington.
Yeah.
She hasn't even announced her
They're already
candidacy yet. And everyone is turning to her to see, where this
Speaking
goes
of, let's
next.
take a look at Fox
Imagine
News.
in just a matter of within an hour, she went from learning of this to now everyone talking about her, discussions about who will be her running mate. It is enough to make your head spin, to say the very least. I'm sure this is something, though, that Kamala Harris has thought about, especially as we have seen these conversations over the last several weeks and that growing chorus, growing louder and louder of Democrats calling for the president to step aside. But this is going to move real fast. If you think it's head spinning already, we are, just
Lightning
weeks
speed.
away from the Democratic convention. The election is right around the corner. We just saw over the last week Republicans really.
No, this is totally bananas. This is unprecedented, totally uncharted. And you know what? This is the neoliberals are completely out of their wheelhouse. Because they never do stuff like this. They never, make hard moves, do hard turns, oh, things are tough, make a different decision. They never, ever, ever do that. They're total cowards. They're absolutely total cowards. Okay. And this is an environment that they do not, sorry, I'm doing too many things at once, but this is an environment that they do not know how to operate in. Moving quick on your feet, making quick decisions, having to do something, very, very quickly, right? This is a party that is incapable of doing that. They're afraid of making hard decisions. So what they are going to do is the neoliberal establishment, they are going to lean on what they know, right? So it's going to be a big Kamala push, and it's going to be, they got to figure out who the VP is going to be, but it's going to be Kamala as president. Kamala as president, and they're, I mean, honestly, I feel like Pete Buttigieg would be a really good VP. He's been really impressing me lately with his rhetoric. I know he's a corporate neoliberal. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's been doing amazing work as transportation secretary. Certainly better than any Republican, but he's had a couple wins. Rhetorically, I think he can handle himself in a debate really well. And I also think with the gay angle, he has a really good human rights kind of story and a human rights pushback, during a vice president debate. So that's my opinion. I think Pete Buttigieg would be a good choice. I'm a progressive. If I was there and I was making these choices, I'd say Bernie and AOC. Okay, just to be clear here. Okay, I didn't turn into Destiny all of a sudden, like pro neoliberal. But if I had my choice, if I was there, they were asking me what's the decision, abandon nihilism, I would say, yo, Bernie is president, AOC is VP, dog. That's the ticket. That's the ticket to wake up America, man. It would fucking blow up America. It'd be like a progressive nuclear bomb. It'd be insane, dude. It'd wake up millions of voters. All right, so let's take a look at CNN. I'm going to steal some CNN. You're watching me steal cable right now. I'm sorry, but this is news. We have to see what the hell's going on. CNN, NBC. Where the hell is it? Newsmax. Did I pass it already? Where the hell? It's usually right at the top. Yeah, see, it's right at the fucking top. I was looking for red and it's blue. I don't know why. All right, let's steal some fucking CNN. Let's see what Wolf Blitzer's going. Wolf Blitzer's over here pulling his actual wig out.
Rehoboth Beach, Delaware beach house. It's kind of a place where he would often go to think about big issues. A lot of presidents have used Camp David. Obviously, Rehoboth Beach is often a place of solace for this president. So to make this decision there is also notable. I want to bring in MJ Lee, who is at the White House for us. And MJ, obviously, this decision is landing like a bombshell
that
for a lot of the White House staff who may not have been in that inner circle around Biden to find out about this. What are you hearing
being the first
from
woman vice
White House
president, first woman
officials,
president,
but also
Hillary
from
be
Democratic
steaming?
donors that you've been speaking with?
Fuck that bitch.
Yeah, Caitlin, you know,
do you
I
think
know
should
you
take
know
over
this
for
better
Biden?
than anyone. There's
Okay, I
something
just said
that
it,
a lot of
but I'll
folks
say it
who
again.
have
People are
known
probably
President
going to
Biden
be
for a
asking me
long
this
time
quite a
will
bit, so
often
I'm sorry in advance. But real quick, I think the ticket that I want personally is Bernie AOC. The ticket that I think that the establishment is going to go for, I think it's going to be Harris as president, and I'm thinking maybe Pete Buttigieg. I think that they think Gavin Newsom is too divisive and he's just another white guy. So I think they're going to go with something like Pete Buttigieg as VP. But we could also see them go super corporate and pick up some corporate, Joe Manchin like character, some guy that we've barely heard about, but is like, Wall Street fucking, loves him. So we could see them go down that route as well as like a compromise to Wall Street, because remember who we're dealing with. We are dealing with a very corrupt and compromised party, okay? We are not dealing with a party of AOCs, right? No matter how the right describes the Democrats, right? Oh, raging anarchists, communists, fascists, blah, 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 blah. No, they're corporatists. They're corporatists and they're cowards. So they're going to fall back on what they know, and they're going to fall back on what their donors are asking of them. So that's really what's going to be happening here. We're not going to have any decisions until the open convention. Once the convention is over, then we'll have the ticket. This is nuts. This is bananas. This is so bananas. This is so fucking bananas.
In November, and I think this was always going to be President Biden and the campaign running in full force until the moment that he wasn't. There's no real way for you to run for president 50%. There's no way for you to sort of half be a candidate. And I think that is sort of what we have seen play out, the dynamics that we have seen in the recent days. Up until yesterday, we know that the senior-most folks on the Biden campaign were not even talking about the possibility of the president dropping out. We had been told earlier today that some of the most senior advisors in the West Wing were still not talking about the possibility of the president dropping out. And then
Dunebug, the fact that you're asking tells me that you're a Trump supporter. So why don't you just fuck off? Why don't you just sit on this and spin, buddy? You fucking fascist. Why don't you do that for me, you son of a bitch?
Moments before the president decided that he was ready to go public.
Well, there you go.
It.
There's your answer.
I also just want to take a moment to talk about
I take it back. I'm sorry, Dunebug. I take it back.
Quickly coming out to fully endorse
Fuck
his
Trump.
vice president,
Fuck Project 2025.
There is so much
Fuck
uncertainty
fascism.
right now about how
Does it even need to be
this race
said?
is going to unfold in the coming days and weeks. We are obviously in a really unprecedented situation, but it was important for a lot of people in the Democratic Party.
No. I mean, so the establishment would be like, yeah, maybe Manchin. They would probably try to make Manchin a thing, but there's going to be too many people in the room that's like, hell no, Manchin's a divisive. No, we need somebody who's squeaky clean. That's why I think they'll go with Pete Buttigieg, right? Because he's corporate, he's neoliberal, he's playing the game, he's on the right side, but he's squeaky fucking clean, and he's got a really great story. Like I said, with the human rights thing, with the gay rights thing, he speaks really, really well. About those things. He's been like I said, the last 2-3 interviews I've seen him in, slam dunks coming from him. I feel like he can handle his own, and he's squeaky fucking clean. He's not. There's no footage of him on a yacht having, talking down to protesters, who were like, hey, you're corrupt as hell, right? There's no footage of that for Pete Buttigieg. Worst you're gonna get at Pete Buttigieg is him having like a tenderly dinner with his husband.
And I think that was clearly a situation that the president wanted to avoid.
Thank you, Dunebug. I 100% agree.
Yeah, MJ, obviously a lot of dynamics at play
that's
here.
Traitorous
also dynamics
activity.
Not just there at the White House, down the street at Capitol Hill. We have Manu Raju, CNN's chief congressional correspondent, also here with us. And Manu, I know we're getting reaction from the Democratic leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries. What is his reaction to this major news from President Biden dropping out of the 2024 race?
Wait, so she just said, hey, I know we're about to hear from this guy, but what's your ass-pull opinion about his opinion before we hear his opinion? Thank you so much, CNN. Doing great work.
Statement that he just put out. He called him one of the most accomplished and consequential leaders in American history. He said that in less than one term, he praised him for his work in what he said is rescuing the nation
sick of this.
from a once-in-a-century pandemic.
This is for the rest of your fucking life. You're going to be hearing this rhetoric, because the rest of my fucking life I'm going to hear the same rhetoric about Obama and fucking Bush now. Most so transformative, I can't even say the fucking word. He's the biggest union guy, he's so, because he did a speech, or he did a march with the unions. So he's the biggest union guy. Not on, on paper, he's none of these fucking things, dude. His actions do not reflect none of this shit. This is myth making. This is myth making for an ineffectual, cowardly president who lost Roe v. Wade and allowed a fascist clown to walk all over him, to fucking dance and boogaloo all around his ass, dude. While Ukraine suffers and he flounders and he's afraid to escalate with Putin, who only understands the language of aggression. No, enough of the fucking myth making. Joe Biden's been status quo. That's Joe Biden. When same thing with Obama, really. I mean, Obama had a little bit more juice to him. Obviously, with policy, there was some more policy stuff happening there, more victories, less failures, less scandals. And he had 8 years. But no, I mean, that's the way to describe Joe Biden. We needed a transformative president. I can't even say the word, man. Why am I having the hardest time in the world with that word? But no, we needed a president that was actually going to do some really radical changes compared to the current status quo. And every single time he turtled in and fell back on his, instincts from the 1960s. And it was just an abject failure, the Biden administration. He could have really done a lot. People wanted a lot. They were ready for change. They were coming off of Trump. All right, let's hear Hakeem Jeffries.
Hello, and thanks very much for joining us. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. We want to welcome our viewers
here
in the United States
both,
and around the world. Caitlin Collins is joining us from New York. And I want to begin.
The only thing I want Washington Destiny to do is spend their money on activism. That's my biggest critique of both of them.
Dropping out of the 2024 presidential race and publicly endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic presidential nominee.
So no, he nominated.
This truly historic announcement in a statement he tweeted out just
Kamala
before 2 p.m. Eastern earlier today. A stunning decision that he kept very close to his vest, alerting his senior White House advisors and campaign staff only moments before making this public letter to the American people public. And we're also just learning, go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah, well, we're learning about how quickly this decision was made and also how recently. Our Jeff Zeleny is told this decision was one that President Biden came to within the last 48 hours.
I didn't catch that. I was too busy yapping.
As he consulted his family, his top advisors on the phone while he is still self-isolating from COVID. His statement that he published just a short time ago reads part, quote,
So people are like, because everyone knows about Kamala and how bad and how unpopular she is, right? That's the meme, and I don't disagree with that. But how does that supposed to make the black community feel if the Democratic Party comes in, replaces a black woman who's vice president? She was good enough to be vice president, but not good enough to be president. Then why'd you make her vice president? Because obviously, if Joe Biden dies, she's going to be president. So now she's not good enough. I feel like you can make a strong play with Harris if you got a good VP and you just hit it hard every single day, weekends, no rest, every single day, debates, challenge. We already see Kamala Harris challenging VP JD Vance to a debate. So just go hard. She's unpopular because she reminds people of Hillary Clinton. That's the main reason. Let's be real. She's unpopular because she's got some Hillary Clinton tics to her. And it's like, ugh.
Positive COVID diagnosis from last week. Now, it was over this course of time
she's also
that the president was around his senior advisors, his inner circle, which we had learned had grown even tighter.
We got no choice.
The day, and he was
Don't give me that
deliberating.
nonsense.
Of course, the president had been hearing from Democratic lawmakers, allies, donors.
Let's not forget the fucking game on the table. The game on the table is transformative fascist dictatorship. Okay? That is not a hyperbolic comment. People with PhDs and who have read more than 6 books like me can attest to this. This is for real. This is actually happening. So let's not forget what we're dealing with. We can't be picky and choosy. We gotta slam it and kick it into overdrive. And yeah, no, Harris is in play. We have no choice. We have to play that. We have to play Harris. Harris is president. That's really the best choice moving forward. Because look, I like I said, I want Bernie AOC. But who are we dealing with? We are dealing with a cowardly, corrupt, corporatist, neoliberal establishment that is desperately, even now, desperately trying to hold on to a status quo that has fucking disappeared 20 years ago. So we can't forget who we are dealing with and who we have to appease, who we have to work with to get something done, to get this ball fucking rolling. Okay, so that's why I'm saying Harris Buttigieg. That's why I'm saying that. Not because I think because I honestly feel a Bernie AOC ticket would blow up politics. It would be like a roaring tide of activism. All of a sudden, young people all over the world, but not just young people, moderate, independent conservatives would be, okay, yeah, no, that guy is definitely going to deliver for me as a senior. I know that's a fact. People, no matter all political stripes, they took a look at Bernie and they said, yeah, that guy means it. He's gonna deliver for me. He's gonna do what he says.
Standing behind,
but that doesn't matter. He's out of the equation.
Decision. So this opens up a whole
it's Harris
new phase.
Buttigieg.
Only weeks from the Democratic National Convention, where there are still so many questions about this moment, this uncertain moment,
Harris
and where
Pete
we
Buttigieg.
go from
That's my prediction.
But the president, in addition to saying that he will not seek re-election,
Kem Goblin,
is saying
this
that the
can
vice
be hopeful.
president, or that he endorses
You're a glass
the
half
vice
full
president.
kind of guy.
We should note on the vice president, her schedule today was to be in Washington, D.C. I have reached out to her staff to see where she is
guys,
now.
The wonks were warning us. The wonks, the lawyers, AOC, all the progressives who have experts who are lawyers and are telling them this is not a good play. This is not going to work. That was AOC making the play for Biden. She was saying, look, they're telling me this is just not going to work. And let me tell you something. Republicans have already started the legal challenges. Republicans are going to challenge this new nominee on every ballot that is legible to challenge, right? They are literally going to make the argument that they should be able to run uncontested, right? Or that the voters need to write in the name of the Democratic candidate, or, they'll probably try to make that illegal too. No, they are literally going to try to argue in court. And here's the thing. It will work if they can delay it enough. Right? If these corrupt judges try to kick the can down the road or whatever. So that is happening right now. There's probably a team of maybe 3,000 or 4,000 lawyers that are actively working across the nation in every state in this fucking country to try to figure out how they can challenge these ballots and make sure that the new candidate that is selected is not put on those ballots. And then, of course, what AOC was warning is that is then going to lead to challenges in court, which will then likely go to the Supreme Court, and we know how that's going to fucking go. We've already had that happen with a much less extreme Supreme Court with Al Gore and George Bush. So we already know how that's going to go with these extreme motherfuckers that are in there. So yeah, no, I mean, yeah, sure, this could give you some hope, but there's a big, big, dreadful downside to this. And let me tell you something. Let's not assume the competency of these motherfucking neoliberals. They're doing something, like I said, that they never ever do. They're blazing a new trail. They're making a last minute decision. This is a party, a creaky fucking dinosaur of a party that does not know how to do that. Okay? Seriously. They don't know how to do this. They're cowards. Okay? So let's not assume that they're making competent decisions. It might be better to assume what AOC is telling us is that they're making more emotional decisions because the donors are screaming in their ear. And they're not listening to you folks. They're not listening to your fucking donors. They're listening to the rich people that fund them.
Did so before we received this letter today to say the president is feeling better.
I'm fucking going crazy, dude.
Of course, the president has also been taking Paxlovid and took another dose of that today, but he has still been self-isolating over all this time. And since he arrived here in Delaware on Wednesday, we have not seen him since then. So we are still waiting for guidance on what his schedule looks like this week. Of course, the Israeli Prime Minister's office saying that the two are expected to meet on Tuesday. We have not received White House confirmation of that meeting, but it was going to be a busy week ahead for the president, and he appeared to be on track to be better, to meet those commitments. But we're still waiting to get that updated guidance from the White House as to when the president
who knows
will be
what's going to happen with Biden, dude?
Wolf.
We hope he has a speedy recovery from COVID. Another important development, normally under these circumstances,
Gasparencia is 100%
the president
correct.
immediately would go on television and announce to the American people what's going on. And now the White House is saying in this public letter that the president has posted on social
bring up
media that
LBJ
he'll do it
making
later in the
apples to
week.
apples comparison.
Is
Nixon
that
was
the
popular.
result
Trump is
of
abnormally massive,
COVID,
unpopular
that
with
he's
most
still
of America who
suffering,
just have
that
to have
maybe
a
his
cold.
voice is
Rock's
not that
fist, that's a
strong
very
yet?
interesting
Has
insight,
the
and I
White
think
House
I agree with
explained
you.
why he's going to go
Nixon
on
had
television
broad appeal.
later in the week as opposed to tonight?
We are asking those questions, Wolf, to try to get more clarity as to when exactly he's referring to in this letter when he says later in the week. There is nothing in this White House note from his doctor that suggests that his symptoms aren't improving enough to address the nation. But again, he is here in his residence in Delaware. So it's unclear, too, where he would like to make those remarks when he addresses the public about not seeking re-election. So we are reporting, we're working our sources to try to get more information. Well, we also can't sort of overstate here how stunning a news this was this weekend to get.
This is bananas. This is totally crazy. This is totally crazy, dude.
They want to cause chaos. They want to stir the pot and make this as difficult for the Democrats as possible. But I would say to that there's also a danger with complacency. We saw a scripted convention by the GOP until Donald Trump blew it up, ripped up the script, and went off on his unhinged Hannibal Lecter tangent. And
this is
that
Fox
doesn't
News,
bode
by the
well
way.
for Trump.
I want to ask you guys about the next steps, because we're in this moment right this second, but now we have to look
Scripps
forward.
News. Sorry, I thought this was
Fox. A lot
Fox.
of calls for different people to possibly step in and take this place. Kamala Harris, obviously the obvious choice as the vice presidential candidate, also access to funds, and the optics of not choosing her are not necessarily favorable to the Democratic Party. Is Kamala the only choice, or do you think we're going to see more infighting among the Democrats as to who
they're going to coalesce around
with
Harris.
Joe Biden's place?
The progressives are going to the so-called progressives are going to coalesce
Personally,
around
I think
Harris.
it's political suicide to open this up into some kind of cattle call where everybody auditions. James Carville is a national treasure. He's a genius. God bless him. But that idea is just nutty. An open convention is a recipe for disaster.
When he says James Carville is a genius, he means please let me be on TV still.
1972 in Miami for George McGovern, which was crazy, and they wound up carrying one state. So I think it's got to be Kamala. I don't think you
Once
can
again
take
with the
nomination
McGovern scare.
away
Always
from the first
scaremongering
black
with McGovern.
vice president in American history and expect the most important Democratic constituency to show up in November. So I think the party will unite around Kamala Harris.
Dante, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back in 2 minutes because I do want to pose to you when we come back.
I think he's right.
The political question of, I understand the optics of it.
Because
the importance of black voters to
the progressives were
Democratic
already
Party. Everyone
coalescing.
understands.
The progressives were already coalescing around Biden. AOC making a very strong and honestly, somewhat convincing argument about how, guys, this will absolutely be challenged by the, bad actor conservative Republicans.
Not so great position. This is a guy who's given a series of jobs by a very far-right, eccentric billionaire who says he doesn't believe in democracy, right?
Yeah.
J.D. Vance's entire career was jobs given to him by Peter Thiel, who then gave a larger donation
I showed you her whole
than has
clip
ever
talking
been
about
given
this.
to a single Senate candidate by a single donor ever to get J.D. Vance his seat in the United States Senate. Same guy who gave him all his jobs also put him in the United States Senate.
Yeah, I mean, these are all good points. She's totally correct. But what she always misses in her analysis is that this is not actually going to move the needle. Acknowledging this and just, talking about the bloviating over this. What will actually, wow, she looks a little rough there. What will actually move the needle is nudging the neoliberal party, criticizing the neoliberal party, which quite frankly is something that these hacks on MSNBC fail to do every single fucking day. And what do we have laid before us but their utter and complete total fucking failure? Okay? And who is the media apparatus that's supposed to be holding them account if you guys are the number one in news, number one for progressive news, liberal left news, blah, 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 blah. Okay? You're the ones that are supposed to be holding this party to account, pushing them, telling them, hey, these strategies aren't working. But no, you weren't. You weren't. Only recently, you know, maybe even after the debate, really, were you really like, maybe something's up with Biden. Until then, you were deflecting or just avoiding the story altogether. But she thinks just going on and on about how corrupt J.D. Vance is, how he's a plan of Peter Thiel, like that's going to do anything. And like the Republicans give a good goddamn. You know what I mean? Because what she should be doing is talking about, okay, what's the strategy here? What's going on with this party? How are these guys allowing these fascists to walk all over American democracy? Are these, are we going to try holding them to account a little bit?
Can worry about it, but that
you support Trump. You support Trump if you do that.
It's just the task is upon us. Here it is.
Here's a statement from President Clinton
Esper.
and Secretary Clinton.
That was his promise.
President Biden has capped his extraordinary career of service with a presidency that has lifted America out of an unprecedented pandemic, created millions of new jobs, rebuilt a battered economy, strengthened our democracy, and restored our standing in the world. By any measure, he has advanced our founders' charge to build a more perfect union, his own stated goal of restoring the soul of our nation. We join millions of Americans in thanking President Biden for all he has accomplished.
Thanks
standing
so
up
fucking
for
much.
America
No, we're not doing this. I'm not fucking doing this. I'm not fucking doing this. Not listening to a fucking statement, Bill and Hillary Clinton, like that fucking matters. MSNBC hitting the brakes. Oh, Hillary Clinton said something. Oh, better read the whole statement verbatim. Fucking why? C-SPAN covering the important topics over here. Washington today.
Wednesday, July 17th, 2024.
Oh, it's a stupid fucking podcast. I can't do a podcast. I need video, dog. True TV. Oh, this ought to be. I love this website. I love just going through this website and seeing all the crazy news. This is so bananas. All right. Well, that's loading. Let's go over here. CBS. Let's see what's happening with the old CBS. I love how the people on CBS have been doing news, since they're born, and I still have no fucking idea who they are.
And the recent ruling by his servile Supreme Court will only embolden him to further shred the Constitution. Now is the time to support Kamala Harris and fight with everything we've got to elect her. And then they end with this, the Clintons saying, America's future depends on it.
So they're all reading Clinton's statement verbatim.
Their support behind Kamala Harris, noting what many people agree is a historic presidential election, perhaps the most important in generations, and what a wild couple of weeks it has been. Beginning with that disastrous debate by President Biden, then the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, in which he miraculously survived and was barely hit with that bullet, a unified Republican convention, which we all just came back from, and his choice of this younger Senator J.D. Vance, who is from Ohio, spent his summers in Kentucky, and has been picked to try and court the white working class vote. However,
these people are part of the problem. Look how friendly, and I mean, you're not going to bring up any of it. I get it. You're trying to just keep the flow. You're trying to be nonpartisan, but this is killing it. Because people like J.D. Vance, they use people like this in the media to give them a kind of awning, to give them a kind of cover of respectability when they are nakedly and blindly corrupt and should be described as such at every opportunity.
At this moment, there's a lot of anger among some of President Biden's closest friends. I can't emphasize enough how they feel he was pushed, and that while Democrats might on the surface be celebrating Vice President Harris's likely nomination in the coming days, there is a lot of fury among those closest to President Biden that he was forced to make this decision under pressure from allies of former President Obama, from allies of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, from
they
major
all played their cards,
donors.
dude. Whoa.
So expect in the coming days for Democrats to lock arms. We will see a cascade of statements in the next few minutes and hours of every major Democrat likely coming out and offering support support for Vice President Harris unless they're thinking about challenging her for the nomination, which we've reported is very unlikely at this hour. At the same time, watch what President Biden does in the coming days. He will be forceful, I'm told, by people at the White House to be out there on her now.
She should do a speech
and they don't
today.
Blame her inside of the
Harris
Biden
should do a
circle
speech
for what has
today. She
happened.
should waste
but this
no
is a Democratic
time.
Party that's at a fragile political moment. They do not feel that this was played in the perfect way for an 81-year-old president who has battled through so much. And so everyone's watching exactly how statements are made and how people use their time, their money, and their political capital.
Thank you. I want to point out that we are just hearing now from Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker Emeritus, in a statement saying President Joe Biden is a patriotic American who has always put our country first. In her words, his legacy of vision, values, and leadership make him one of the most consequential presidents in American history. She has not endorsed Kamala Harris in this statement, but notably praising the legacy of Joe Biden and applauding his decision to put our country first. We are now joined by the co-chair of the Biden-Harris campaign, Senator Chris Coons. Senator, thank you for joining us.
This guy is establishment. Should have that shit tattooed on his forehead.
In American history. And I hope today that we can focus on Joe Biden's incredible legacy of service to our nation.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
He has been serving us in the Senate as...
No, dog. This isn't. No, he sucks. Like I said, the myth making is going to be immediate and annoying. And just annoying and unbelievably puke-inducing. Oh, he's so good, so transformative, and so amazing, so this, so that. No, the fuck, not really. Status quo Joe. That's how I'm going to remember status quo, Joe Biden. Status quo Joe. Coward Joe. That's how I remember Joe. All right, let's go to Sky News. Let's see what they're talking about.
Joe Biden's greatness and goodness.
Right, does she endorse Kamala Harris or not noticeably yet?
Not yet, but of course, the Democrats will have to decide how they're going to approach this now, Mark, because some will want a coronation to end the infighting and some will believe it's time for a more open process.
But the statement you first read from the Clintons, where they do endorse Kamala Harris, that is a very powerful suggestion of, the
what can be
rallying round,
unburdened by what has been. What can
well, let's
be.
put it like this.
Okay,
President Joe Biden is bowing out of the race and endorsing Kamala Harris.
I mean, like,
President
I don't want to.
Has endorsed Kamala Harris.
I don't want to blow up like what I'm doing here, but I think it's fair to say what I'm doing is a form of public speaking, and you do that shit all the time, man. You flip around words, you say completely, Can't even say transformative right now. I'm having the hardest fucking time in the world to say that shit. Has nothing to do with the marijuana I'm smoking. Nothing. But it like I don't know when people like I always feel so bad for Howard Dean. It's like yeah. It's like come on, we've all been there. We've all made funny noises. Come on. I don't know. I just feel bad for public speakers that get slipped up.
Yeah, I just want to talk about, we're getting statements in all the time. I just want to talk briefly about the statement from Donald Trump, in which he said in an interview with NBC News, Joe Biden is the worst, and this is subsequent to Biden's letter to Americans. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States by far. There has never been a president who has done such damage to our country, from energy independence to letting in millions and millions of illegal immigrants. We will fix what he has done. And then he goes on, he should never have been there in the first place. He should have stayed in his basement, a reference.
Which is some great fumbles during his administration. Yeah, big time.
Reference to the previous campaign when Joe Biden stayed isolated because of COVID.
I mean, it's going to be, it probably has already happened. I can't look at it right now because I'll get banned off the platform, but I bet Andrew Tate is already calling Kamala Harris the N-word. Yeah, I mean, all the nasty race stuff, dirty election tricks, race-related dirty election tricks are going to come out. Yeah, it's going to be pretty disgusting. You betcha. All that old Obama stuff, a lot of Hillary Clinton stuff will come back as well. Just a lot of the Hillary Clinton jokes will be converted to Kamala Harris jokes. So You know, I mean, the thing is, though, is that this is happening so fast, is that the smear machine really won't have as much time as it normally would have to get its little claws in and to you know, to repeat something 3 million times. And then people just like, oh, yeah, that person. I mean, come on. I mean, obvious that whatever the smear is, right? Whatever you would call her, shrill, bitchy, something like that, right? Oh, yeah. I mean, she's obviously bitchy, right? Like, there's no other evidence to you know, it's like, I've heard that so many times, it has to be true, that kind of logic. The propaganda machine won't really have enough time to do that properly. And like I said, if Harrison and whoever she picks gets in front of a camera, gets aggressive, really pushes it, like I said, every single fucking day, man. Every day, social media, front of cameras, Jimmy Kimmel, all that shit, dude. 24/7. We're talking about people, one in her like late 40s, 50s, guy in his motherfucking 30s if she picks Buttigieg. I'm talking every single fucking day. Nonstop, the most hardcore marathon of politics for the next whatever months. News, marches, events, interviews, the whole nine. They could pull this off.
Rules and procedures of the party. Our delegates are prepared to take seriously their responsibility in swiftly delivering a candidate to the American people. And he goes on, Democrats are prepared and united in our resolve to win in November as we move forward to formally select our party's nominee. Our values as Democrats remain the same, lowering costs, restoring, so forth about Democratic policies, but not really clear about what sort of process it's going to be.
A transparent, accountable process governed by rules, but we don't actually know what that process is going to be because 90+% of delegates to the National Convention in August are legally pledged to support Joe Biden. Now that Joe Biden has withdrawn, can they?
My prediction is that they'll basically start running Kamala as the nominee before this convention, right? To, you know, just to get that momentum going, just to get it all going. Probably keep the VP pick in the pocket until the convention. You know, announce the VP during the convention and then go into that blitz mode, like I said. But they're probably going to start running Kamala. I think she should do it today. I think she should get in front of a microphone and do a big presidential speech right now. Like right fucking now, right? In the same day, within just a few hours of Joe Biden's announcement. So it's like a passing of the baton, right? So if she's not working with her speechwriters right this second to cook up something really juicy, to cook up something really inspiring, she's a goddamn fool. And everything I say about the neoliberals is just all the more true, you know, that they're just so bad at politics. But if Kamala Harris gets in front of a microphone and does a straight up presidential speech, I'd be so happy. I'd be so happy.
He was not fit to serve from the very beginning, but the people around him lied to America about his complete and total mental, physical,
I have a movie date.
Cognitive
My wife and I have a babysitter coming over.
Just make more of the same, and ads make America.
I only have a few hours.
You see, his core support will like that. Trump's core support will go along with that. One wonders, though, what other voters will make of that kind of language in a situation like this.
And that core support, of course, is already energized by the fact that he survived an attempted assassination 8 years ago. Because of the heady mix of politics and religion.
8 days ago.
I hope this is old footage of Biden.
Yes.
It's a long time in politics. Because of the heavy mix of politics and religion in the United States, many people will regard that as some kind of act of God, his survival, and it will boost his polling, even among some of those who were undecided. And now, the other thing that will energize the campaign is the fact that they're taking on a new candidate in potentially Kamala Harris or someone else.
David, stay with us for the moment. Let's speak now to Susan Platt, who is former chief of staff to President Biden when President Biden was Senator Biden. Susan Platt, thank you very much indeed for being with us. And first of all, we'll talk about the future in a moment. Let's just talk about the present. What do you make of what Joe Biden has decided to do?
Well, it certainly is a sad day for those of us, particularly who've worked for him, but also for the country. And But I'm also, it's a proud day. Joe Biden has always done
so proud
what's best for the country. You know, Donald Trump
got his arm twisted until he finally did it. So proud he capitulated.
Patriots, or those who want to deny women
he's doing it for the country, guys.
Rights of other minority groups. But you know who the real patriot today is? It's Joe Biden. And he has always shown that. And you know, his legacy will loom large over anyone else who come in the office. But
well, the sickness isn't helping. And the fact is that he's going to be laid up for a couple weeks. You know, really, he's going to have to take more time off. It's the cherry on top, right? Not even the straw that broke the camel's back, because they were already starting this process before the COVID. So like Alzheimer's, no, I mean, that's the thing, man. This is so wheel this. I'm gonna call you Wheels. This is what getting old looks like. This is what getting old and actually holding on to your marbles looks like. Okay, he's all there. Okay, but you know, like if he was asked to respond in writing, it would be perfectly fine. You know, he'd be able to correct any typos and, you know, get a full, complete thought out and think about it carefully. But this is not Alzheimer's. This is called being an 80-year-old man. Okay. Who's, you know, still walking around, still got, you know, control of his facilities. You know, he's still, you know, he's actually a very healthy and vibrant 80-year-old man. But yeah, I mean, that's how old age works. Sometimes, you know, you hit a plateau and you kind of deteriorate a little bit, you know, and it happens faster sometimes, kind of like the reverse growth spurt. It sucks. It fucking sucks balls. But this is not Alzheimer's. Okay, it's not Alzheimer's.
That issue, you seem to be saying that you think there should be, you know, a ringing endorsement of Kamala Harris and no process. Am I reading you right there, or do you still think she should stand in some sort of competitive process, whether it's sort of mini primaries or whatever?
We know what's happening.
Well, Joe Biden is currently the leader of our party, and he has chosen Kamala Harris, and I would say for good reason.
Partisans.
She has been by his side, pulling this country through.
These partisans are so fucking hilarious. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't. She's saying this for all the wrong reasons. I'm saying this because the establishment that I would want to change is going to do this and anointing her. And there's no point in resisting. There's no time. You're just, you know, like we literally have just enough time to kick one campaign into high gear, and we have to select it right away. So we have to compromise. The progressive wing of the left has to compromise on this one, and we just have to go in with the obvious corporate choice that they're going to go with. But honestly, you know, like I said, black people would be super pissed, you know, because like, here's, like I said, this, you know, from their perspective, strong black woman, intelligent black woman, and Whitey comes in and is like, nah, we don't like you. You know, and that ain't right, man. That's not going to work. That's not going to fucking work, man. So, but she's saying all this for the wrong reasons, because she's saying, like she said, oh, Biden's our president. You know, blah, blah, blah. So partisan reasons, right? Because Biden said so and blah, blah, blah. I have so much respect for Biden. He said this and this is his choice. And it's like, what about the American people? You know, these partisans completely, you know, flip that right on its head. Man, I wish I got real Fox. For once, I would just love to get the real Fox News, but I'm never paying for that garbage. And there's never a good pirated stream. There's never a good pirated Fox News stream. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm never paying for that shit. But they hide all the Sean Hannity stuff and all the really good fascists. They hide them behind cable subscription. Oh, here we go. Let's see what Destiny's saying. I'm curious.
When Trump wins the election, if Trump wins the election, I'm probably going to be like, oof, that really sucks. It's pretty shady that he won. Yeah, wow. I'll talk about this for the next 4 years. When Biden won the election, you guys tried to overthrow the government because you were so ass-pained, because your assholes had been so expanded by Daddy Trump and the conservatives hyping you up that there was no possible way you were going to have a 50-state landslide. Like, you can't really use that argument anymore. You understand that, right? After January 6th, you kind of have completely lost the ability to say, I've been after the election, you're going to be deranged. You fucking retards still don't believe the results of the last election, right? You understand that, right? You still don't think the last election was legitimate.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well, the 4th of July is when we celebrate American independence, and by extension, it's also when we celebrate American strength and the ability for America to stand.
All right. Well, Destiny doing his thing. Good for you, Big D. You know, I've been proud of Destiny lately, standing up against the right wing Republicans. You know, the problem is that his language when talking about that guy getting shot, he's got a big smile on his face. He thinks it's really, you know, it's like, I get what he's saying. I don't necessarily even disagree with what he's saying about how, like, you know, these people are, you know, pro-insurrection, they're pro-gun anarchy. It was a Republican that shot him, right? Which just further exemplifies the issue, but puts a fucking, you know, big highlighter over it. So, you know, all of his points are correct, but it's just that the way that he delivers that message about how he doesn't really give a shit about the guy who was shot in the head. It's like, it's hard to get fully behind him, you know what I mean? But at the same time, the aggressiveness and the way that he's been insulting and pushing down and criticizing right-wing Republicans who are like, you know, there's that clip. I think I showed the clip. Maybe I have it queued up in Discord, but it's Destiny, having this conversation with this woman who does not believe January 6th was like a crime. She does not believe Republicans even broke into the window or she believes that they opened up the door and Republicans went through. And, Destiny tells her that she needs to be bullied more. And it's like, yeah, I guess technically, yeah. I mean, because what he's saying is that she needs to be confronted more. She needs to be pushed back on more. Because she's in a right-wing echo chamber exclusively, and she doesn't actually understand what reality is. So it's just the language and the delivery. But I do agree with the aggressiveness and putting this shit in the bud and calling fascism what it is. Stop tiptoeing around. Stop following Wolf Blitzer's lead. Stop following Anderson Cooper's lead and tiptoeing around these fascists. No, call them what they are and call them despicable, because that's exactly what they are. So let's see what's going on with Fox here.
For some really interesting civics lessons indeed, but also some great politicking.
Yeah, can you imagine 6 months ago, if we ever thought that we were going to be at this point in the presidential election where you had one candidate who was nearly killed by an assassin's bullet and another one who was dropped out. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you had that on your bingo card, Dana.
I didn't. It was funny because last January, when we were in the middle of the Republican primary, which turned out to be really nothing, right? But at the time, there were several candidates, and there were questions whether President Trump would be the nominee. I remember talking to one of my former colleagues who said, I'm actually beginning to think that it's much more likely that Trump is the Republican nominee and that Biden is not on the ticket. That was last January. So I feel like this has been building for a while, and I actually believe that Joe Biden's decline has been building for a while and accelerating in the last few months, and it became
Welcome
untenable.
To the Discord.
Whoever
Please behave yourself.
pushed him to do that debate in June did two things. One, exposed what the White House was trying to cover up, but two, accelerated us to the situation where now Joe Biden will not be on the ticket.
Goddamn accelerationist.
Yeah. So Jill Stein has weighed in saying Joe Biden has been removed from power by the same anti-democratic forces that rigged the field for him in 2020 and skipped the primary to anoint him in 2024. Don't be fooled. The same DNC elites that put him in power will replace him with another tool for Wall Street and the war machine. So the Green Party candidate weighing in, RFK.
Fascinating, because that's kind of true, right? Because like I said before, this is at the beck and call of the donors. But it's interesting, Fox News, we've seen this from the Republicans as well during the RNC, right? Coming out really vociferously against the banks, the big banks, and corrupt. And it's like they have no idea. They really don't. They really and like Fox News just kind of reinforces this idea that there's no connection to the things that they're talking about. Yeah, all the different things that they're railing on this party for. the Republican Party represents in spades, quadruple, 10 times more represents these interests in spades. Oh, so they keep showing this Joe Biden, veering off, looking at something else.
Not the last 3 years, but just think of the last several months. How many times the White House press office told us that Joe Biden runs circles around them inside the White House?
It all depends on how successful the Republicans be in the legal battle.
Reporters who had 45 sources saying that Joe Biden's decline had accelerated and that he was having a hard time, and then you start to have.
Look, from the progressives' POV, this is a tough game to play. And the only move right now is get behind Kamala, and like I said, do a turbocharged double down campaign, get these people in front of cameras immediately. Like I said, Kamala Harris should be in front of a camera. I'm kind of waiting. I'm going to give this another half hour or so, and then switch over to other news because, we gotta see. I want to see what the hell Kamala Harris has to say. But the progressives really have no choice right now. There's doing an open convention. It's not going to work because, let's be real, the corrupt neoliberal party will go down with the ship. The corrupt neoliberal party would rather have Trump fascism than progressivism. Okay, there's a big chunk of the DNC that would rather have Trump-style fascism than Bernie-style progressivism. And they are willing to burn the whole motherfucker down because that's who their interests are. Their interests are oligarchs, extremely rich people who are perfectly happy to sink this party for their own interests, for their own shady and greedy interests, okay? So this is the reality of the situation for progressives. They have to everyone has to coalesce all energy behind Kamala Harris immediately. And a VP pick needs to be made during the open convention. And like I said, turbocharged campaign, cameras, Saturday and Sunday, like none of this taking the fucking weekend off, like Saturday and Sunday doing big, 60 minutes interviews, every fucking opportunity. Like, they should not be off TV this entire time. And they might be able to pull this out of their ass.
There's probably just a lot of sadness and the shaking of the head on the Obama side of things right now. Remember in 2016,
Ford, that's a great point.
Idea for Biden to run, and he endorsed
and look, Kamala Harris.
And I think there's a lot of that bitterness.
The black community is not going to be cool with Kamala Harris getting kicked to the curb.
And what about that moment that Adam Schiff came out last week and said it's time for Biden to go? Do you believe
Harris needs to do a speech right now?
For Nancy Pelosi?
I do.
Harris needs to do a speech right fucking now.
Is that, and just remember, she's close to Nancy Pelosi, and then I high-fived Alex Thompson from Axios, who thought the same thing. The one thing that Michael, I have a good friend.
Welcome back, Woke Patriot. Welcome back, everybody. Rebel Phoenix. Oh my God, Sticks. Thank you, everybody, for coming back. Sovereign Dart.
Leg up if she can figure out the way to get this cash in the Biden-Harris account. He says, but just to remember that Biden can't simply transfer the nomination to her. And that's what I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying. She's like, there's going to be a fight, and there's going to be a race. And I am here for all of it, John. I can't wait to see how this actually turns out, because now you have 3,937 Democratic delegates selected for the
100%.
convention. They are essentially free agents. So the politicking in the next 4 weeks is going to be insane.
So I'm speaking from a purely
this is the Democrats' fault
standpoint. How many?
Because if the Democrats had a legitimate primary, if they didn't just do, because they've after Bernie, they've completely locked this process down. It is completely churned into a fucking king-making machine. It has nothing to do with democracy. This neoliberal anointment machine. It was in autopilot. Pick Joe Biden, and if there was an actual, if he had to get in front of a fucking camera maybe once and be challenged, by fellow Democrats, he might have been able to, this process might have been able to have been started months ago. So this is totally on the neoliberal establishment and their undemocratic practices. Let me make that clear. Totally, yes. Fox News is saying this shit in being bad actors, but the neoliberal electoral process is totally undemocratic, without a doubt.
step, the wind at their back. They're so excited, and this race just got super interesting.
Forward to
Remember,
welcome back.
Nikki Haley said, I'm not running against Joe Biden. I'm running against Kamala Harris. Wow. That turned out to be very true.
No, there was no primary.
Hey,
it was a joke.
As you point out, you have got a
no. There was no primary. No, remember when Joe Biden, a couple weeks ago, he said, "I was nominated. I was nominated." No, the fuck you weren't nominated. That was not a nomination process, dude. That was a disgusting display. Like I said, this entire broken electoral, anti-democratic process on autopilot. Right? Oh, he's got to have 8 years. He's got to have 8 years. Even though he promised 4, he's got to have 8 years. He's got to have 8 years. His legacy. It's autopilot. Get him through. Get him on. Maybe Bernie Sanders just didn't even have the stamina, to do it this year, because he could tell that, there's no stopping this momentum. They're just going to break it just like they did last time. And no one else did. And everyone else just kind of went along with it. But it's totally 100% true that if this party had actually done a Democratic primary, we would have been able to hammer this out much earlier.
Really served by people close to him. That includes family and maybe staff as well. But it was pretty clear that there was going to be a slow roll here. And I thought that this kind of tidal wave was going to
never
break
forget,
across
brother.
the shore,
I'm trapped.
Say last Sunday morning, maybe last
where'd
Monday,
you find
because
this
you
prison?
had the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer meeting with President Biden at Rehoboth. You had Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, going and meeting with him a week ago Thursday. And
I'm
so
just tripping,
that
dude.
news about Schumer, that broke seconds before former President Trump was shot in Pennsylvania. So what's happened here is it kind of delayed this push. We've had a trickle of other people in the past 24 hours come out. Certainly Friday afternoon, a few yesterday. Joe Manchin
They're like
this
scared
morning
children.
indicate that they thought it was time for President Biden to go. But some of that probably would have happened about a week ago. Did that cost them time? Now, here's the other interesting dynamic that's going on.
We have to go with their impulses, though.
Catherine Clark, she's the Democratic whip in the House of Representatives. Obviously, thanks President Biden for his service, but she does not endorse somebody. By the same token, we have Cori Bush, the Democrat from Missouri, who faces a competitive primary here in just a couple of weeks in St. Louis, and she says that she is for President Biden, for Vice President Harris. She says it's all about winning. Now, you're having this dynamic going on here where
woke patriot didn't have enough time. He's a complete failure
here, thanking the president for his service, but not jumping in. Nancy Pelosi, the former speaker.
Look, it's not fair to call Joe Biden a complete failure. I take that back. But it's like I said, status quo Joe. That's Joe Biden's legacy, is that he had an opportunity to be transformative. I know I can't say it right. But he had an opportunity to make real change, and he really didn't take it. He really kind of fell back on his instincts, he came through for Ukraine just enough for a stalemate, but cowardly allows Putin, to basically use his cowardliness as part of Putin's strategy, and he just freezes. He freezes. Roe v. Wade destroyed under his watch. What does he do to the Supreme Court? Fucking nothing. Fucking nothing. Doesn't even use his bully pulpit to talk shit. Doesn't even use his bully pulpit. Right? Okay. Oh, I'm too much of a coward to even try to talk about adding more seats, or finally at the last millisecond, he finally, has a policy. We talked about it yesterday. Right, talks about, okay, next year we're gonna do something about that Supreme Court. We're gonna have term limits, and we're gonna have rules and stuff, and next year we're gonna do it. It's like, no, you had your chance, homie. And quite frankly, he still does have a chance. He's still the goddamn president. That's not different. But it was kind of desperate and quite honestly half-hearted, because it's like, do I really believe you're gonna follow through on that? The party that let George Bush and Dick Cheney and the entire Bush criminal cartel get away with every fucking crime scot-free? Really?
Biden continue to serve out the rest of his term. They're going to raise a lot of questions about Harris and try to undercut her, but they're also going to say, if he's not good enough to stand for re-election,
100% correct.
What's going to happen then? And here's the other thing. Is there going to be some sort of an investigation? We have this huge hearing tomorrow morning with Kimberly Cheadle, the Secret Service director, but I've been, getting a couple of whispers here. They're saying we're going to have to look in to understand who knew what, who understood whether or not the president had
Tulsi
the
Gabbard,
to
yeah,
to serve.
boy, yeah.
Were there medical
Bring
staff?
back Tulsi.
There's already some investigation into that from some of the House Republicans. They're going to want to hear. They're going to make this a campaign issue. You had Bernie Moreno. I keep talking about Ohio. Bernie Moreno is the Republican nominee for Senate against Sherrod Brown. He showed up a week ago Thursday outside Sherrod Brown's office here on Capitol Hill in the Hart Senate office building, and he said, Sherrod Brown in 2021, 2022 had been to the White House X number of times. What did he see in the president's decline? So already they're going to weaponize this against the Democrats with those vulnerable
Yeah,
Democrats
it's hard to
right
picture
away.
as
Republicans
anything
are really itching for this, frankly.
legitimate.
Yeah, there's going to be so much to talk about in the days and weeks ahead. Chad Pergam for us. Chad, thanks. Let's bring in our chief political anchor and special anchor. Brett Baer has got a special
this son of a
edition of his
bitch.
program tonight with Martha between 5 and 7
Is he
o'clock.
AI?
I want to
Is
read
he a
couple
robot?
Things to you. First of all,
He
caller
looks like
from
an
Brooke
android.
Sigmund, Fox Digital reporter, who says
I'd
a
vote
source
for
very
Hunter.
familiar
I'd vote
tells
for
Fox
Hunter.
Digital that as of last night,
Hunter
the
and
message
Hunter
from
Biden's
President Biden
penis
and
is
those around him
VP.
was, quote, all systems go.
The dream
and
team.
campaign full speed ahead. Then at around 1:45
It's like the
PM,
shark from Finding
he
Nemo.
notified senior team members that he had changed his mind.
I picture it. I have a
Let's
kid.
get to what might have
I
changed
picture
his
it,
mind,
and
Brett,
you're
but
100%
also,
correct.
This statement from Barack and Michelle Obama.
Is Hunter
which
even old
does
enough?
not endorse
He's
Kamala
wise
Harris.
enough.
Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton have come out to endorse her. President Biden endorsed her. But here's what the Obamas say.
Yeah,
we
Leon,
will be
I mean-
navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary
He wasn't great
confidence that
until
the leaders of
Gaza,
our
but
party
Gaza
will be
confirmed
able to
how
create
much of a
process
coward he
from
is.
which
Netanyahu
an
walked all over
outstanding
Biden
nominee
and continues to do so.
emerges. Ouch.
Yeah. This is going to be fascinating.
I mean, seriously, think about it. Joe Biden is being walked all over by Netanyahu and Putin. And quite frankly, we need. I keep talking about this. The theme for the last several months when talking about Joe Biden has been really a lack of leadership. And it's like, especially now, man, you're a lame duck. It's official. It's confirmed. Go out with a bang. Oh no, I'm too scared. And that's the main problem. That's always the main problem with these neoliberals. Too goddamn scared to act. Too goddamn scared to lead. Oh, I might screw up and then I'll look bad. No, you're inaction. Your failure to do anything. Even sound authoritative half the time. I swear to God, Joe Biden never once dominated and led the news narrative, the 24-hour news cycle. He was never, his party, the DNC, Joe Biden, they were never leading. It was always responding to whatever Trump and the fascists were doing, whatever. Trump's not even president. But he kind of felt like it. Just a complete vacuum of leadership, man. Just a total suck job. That's my opinion of it. Status quo Joe.
Now Joe Biden is doing the same thing. And as mentioned before, I think you're going to see the former president really hit on how is he able to serve the final 5 months. You're seeing Republicans say that as well.
Yeah, Rebel Phoenix.
As the Democrats try to figure out how this process is going to look. What looks like is real is that Chicago is going to be something that we haven't seen probably since 1968. And they say it's not going to be chaotic, John, but it's starting out that way.
They said that about 1968 as well. They had to put grease on the statue of General Grant so the people stopped.
No one fucking cares. No, it's going to be chaotic because the party that these people fucking bootlick for are going to make sure it's chaotic. Right? What would happen if the shoe was on the other foot? Let's have a little fun pretend session. Let's pretend that the Republicans were in this position. Would the neoliberals do everything in their power to challenge the name, the replacement on the ballot? No, they wouldn't, would they? They would help. They would help the Republican Party get the new person on the ballot. They would not legally challenge it. So, you know what I mean? Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, how would these milquetoast fucking neoliberal, we still care about bipartisanship, how would they treat this electoral crisis if it was happening to the Republicans? Well, they'd be real fucking nice about it, wouldn't they? How do we think the Republicans are going to act in the reverse situation? oh, gee, they're going to legally challenge every little thing. And who's going to defend it? Who's going to defend it? Who's going to bootlick and fucking chode suck the entire way there, make excuses and do interviews with quack fucking lawyers who are going to defend it? Oh, they have to do. There's really no choice. There's really no choice but to make a big legal deal out of switching the ballot over to Kamala. There's a big legal deal. We can't do that. That's undemocratic to switch it. Yeah, the only democratic choice is to have Donald Trump run opposed with no other alternative. There should just be Donald Trump. That's really the really true democratic thing that needs to happen. Isn't that what's going to happen, you fucking shark tail looking motherfucker? Isn't that what's going to be happening, right? Your party, the one that you bootlick for, is going to be hardcore in the courts, making sure Kamala Harris is on as few ballots across the nation as possible. Isn't that what the fuck's going to happen, you fucking bastard, you fucking hack? Right? Am I wrong? Tell me I'm fucking wrong. These fucking silver-haired, slick, fucking oil salesmen over here avoiding the reality that the party that he fully supports is going to be fucking over democracy as hard as possible during this entire process.
In a hot area of trouble zones around the world, that will be a major
Morning Joe off the hook tomorrow. You know I'm watching.
We're doing, and at some point you're going to have to see physically from President Biden. I know he's fighting COVID and apparently has a cough and a sore throat and it doesn't sound good. But at some point,
Kamala needs to come out and do a fucking speech.
We'll have to see the President of the United States.
Where's Kamala?
In person.
Because I mean, there's two things at play here. First of all, there's Joe Biden has been given polling. We know this because it was said by, and I can't remember her name now, from California.
See, he gets paid $1 million.
You've been given polling that shows.
See, he smokes weed too. He gets paid $1 million and he smokes weed. See,
that aspect of it that he's been shown polls apparently that say you're going to lose to President Trump, but then the cognitive.
I bet he doesn't even know 3 cities in Texas.
Of this, and the White House has been doing its best to poo-poo that.
I do. I know 3 cities in Texas now.
Those questions. You're not only are you crazy, but you're anti-American for asking questions like that and these cheap fake videos that we're trying to pass off on America. So when Lyndon Johnson dropped out, it was simply because, hey,
what's a cheap fake American?
Let somebody else get in there who might be able to do a better job against Nixon. But there's the two things at play here with Biden.
Exactly, and it's hard to believe everything has moved so fast that June 27th.
I'm so embarrassed.
That's not.
I'll never live it down.
And
the Republicans,
the world has changed. Now,
I mean, let's just admit it. The Republicans are right on everything that they say because I can't name 3 cities in Texas. You know what I mean? Dallas, Houston, and Memphis. No, I'm kidding. Dallas, Houston, and Austin. 3 cities in Texas. Yay. If he said California, I could have done that easily because everything's like San everything, right? San Jose. There's a couple other that would come to mind. Maybe I would lose in California too.
The baton of the presidency off to Kamala Harris.
El Paso. Oh yeah. LaGrange. I should have said LaGrange. That's my favorite ZZ Top song.
Nominee and her candidacy if she does become the nominee. This was like an all-call 5-alarm fire that went out. My colleague and
a right-wing chatter made fun of me. Said I couldn't even name 3 cities in Texas, and then I couldn't.
Join the coverage here. Welcome everybody. Everybody.
Yeah, some right-wing asshole came in and he was like, I bet this guy can't even name 3 cities in Texas. And then I couldn't. It was very embarrassing. I'll never live it down. But what can I do? Look, this is the problem of sticking your neck out is that sometimes people go for your neck, right? People go for the jugular and sometimes they don't miss. Sometimes they hit.
Staff were stunned by this decision. But as we were reporting throughout
my
Friday,
geography is terrible.
And obviously earlier than that, you're in the race until you're not, right?
Exactly.
So he had to say that he was in this to win it and that he was going. I mean, we listened to Kamala Harris's speech, 2 of them last week.
I might be able to do Ukraine.
To win it, and we will win.
Kyiv,
we will see victory for this ticket.
Robotina,
but she never really referenced Joe Biden, so
Melitopol,
she's been gearing up for
Mariupol.
this for quite some time. If you may, Brett, are you still with us?
I am.
No, a few.
I'm just looking through some of these statements here. Elizabeth Warren, there's a rush to sort of secure his legacy too, right? Because you think about all those who were supporting him all the way through this, Brett.
Yes, 100%. And, even you have people that may potentially throw their name in the hat.
Okay,
the ring, rather.
They're desperate. They don't have really anything to talk about. All right, let's switch it up. Let's see what the liberals are saying. We've given the right wing a chance. I mean, I don't understand why they have these boring ass, B team. Like, where's the zippy right wingers like Joe Biden's old, pretending to be Rob Reiner or something. You know what I mean? Like, where are these guys on Fox News Live on YouTube? Where the fuck, man? Where's the Rob Schneiders? I want to hear from the Rob Schneiders of the right wing. We got Sky News, NBC. Who's talking NBC? Rachel Maddow? All right, let's do it.
Both when we have potential voters, because that's a big universe as well. People aren't sure they're going to vote. To make them in a searing way understand what a Donald Trump presidency could mean for them and their family, and what a Kamala Harris presidency could mean. And I think that's a matchup we can win. And I don't want to overstate Trump's advantage, but it's there. He's a couple of points stronger than he was in 16 and 20. But that was in a race against Joe Biden. So we may see some of that naturally change. So this is going to be a dead heat race, similar to what we saw in 20 or 16. And I do think a more energized Democratic Party and volunteers.
I never had a
grassroots
geography
people,
class.
Spending time and really getting motivated matters, because that's what it takes to win a presidential race.
I never had a geography class.
David Plouffe, thank you so much for joining us. I want to welcome in my colleague Chris Jansing, who's now joined us for this breaking news. It's the top of the hour. It's 4 o'clock here in New York City. What an incredible day. 56 years. That's the last time that there was a situation like this where a president stepped aside and the person who will take his place will not have gotten a single direct vote in a primary process. It hasn't happened in a whole long time. There's all this talk about Kamala Harris, as you've been hearing, but there is a little bit of a gap there that's been left open by Democratic leadership and certainly by former President Obama. So far, not.
I'm voting for Kamala, y'all. I agree.
Harris,
that's what I'm doing.
I
don't like it.
56 years, Joe Biden would become a U.S. Senator just, I think, 5 years after that. And what an absolutely huge opportunity and huge risk now, right, for the Democratic Party. If the main problems that they saw with Joe Biden was that he was too old, they've got someone, at least by Joe Biden's statement, who's 59 years old, in Kamala Harris. If there is a problem, they believe, with his mental acuity, Kamala Harris has spent much of the last year prosecuting, which is one of the big issues for Democrats, and that obviously is abortion. I heard you talking about that earlier. But the real question is what happens next, and I want to bring in Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, who is a close ally of President Biden. Senator, I'm sure this is a very emotional day, a very emotional time for you. But I
forgot it was this guy. I was like, wait a minute, isn't Chris Coons the guy that I was just shitting on earlier for being a total partisan? I don't want to hear from a partisan who's like, oh, Joe Biden, his legacy, no one will ever forget. He's the nicest guy in the world and so competent and everything was so great. And oh my God, the myth making. It's like, I don't need that. My God, man. I mean, like, where's TYT? Where's the independent guys? What the hell is happening? Come on. I can't believe it, because it's a weekend. Really, guys? I mean, honestly, TYT, this is a little embarrassing. Okay, thank God. Okay, we're live. Wait, I got caught up last time. They just had a loop of reruns. God damn it, they just got a loop of reruns. Oh. They just have a loop of reruns going right now on TYT. I don't understand what is happening over there at that network. I really don't. I mean, can you hire me? Pay me, dude, pay me $15 an hour and I will be your weekend anchor, TYT. I won't even say embarrassing things anymore, all right? I won't even talk about 9/11, I promise. Okay? I won't even say embarrassing things anymore, okay? Look, TYT, hire me, baby. You need a weekend live anchor. How many times has there been breaking news on the weekend? Twice, 2 weekends in a row. And TYT over here sitting flat dick doing reruns. What the fuck, right? Like, what the fuck? It's embarrassing. Quite frankly, it's a little embarrassing. Oh, Benny Johnson all over. I mean, when Benny Johnson is on top of your ass, TYT. Charlie Kirk over here. Look at that thumbnail. Michael Knowles. 12K watching, 14K watching. TYT over here totally dropping the ball, dude. Actually embarrassing. All right, there's really not much more to talk about, is there? Until we get a speech from Kamala Harris. That's who we need to hear from right now. We need to hear from Kamala Harris until the geez, all these thumbnails are so mean. We got to hear from Kamala Harris until the primary, or until the what is it, the conference or whatever the fuck they call it. India Today. Everyone's live. We're all live. The CNN pirate stream. Adam Mockler. What's Adam got that I don't got, man? What's Adam up to? What's he up to, man? Why is he so hot right now? 2,000 people watching, homie. Have you liked the stream?
But this background has a lot more. Someone said I don't like this background. Someone said I do. After I decorate it, it'll look better. But let me read through this breaking news article. Let me just read through some of this really quickly.
Read through it, Daddy-O. All right, I'm switching out
the stream. The flickering is something with my camera that I have to fix. But all right. So I want to make sure everybody's caught up on the breaking news since we're live.
Do it for me, Adam. So 2,000 people watching.
Oh, before you do, someone in the chat asked what my channel name is. It is just Jack Cocciarella, my last name. It's really difficult to spell. Show.
Yeah.
The link is in chat right now.
Yeah, he's not view botting, guys. There's no way in hell. All right, so we're going to be switching out here. So that means I'm going to be hitting stop stream over here and then start stream in the chair. So it should be pretty instant. But if it doesn't come back right away, just hit refresh or, back out, jump back into the channel, and I'll be streaming immediately. It's going to take 5 seconds. Okay, folks? Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Be right back.